There you go.
what they represent. Their
Timer's going,
mandates,
and I'm going to
their
mute. Let's
values,
go.
their
Have a
integrity.
great show,
Huge.
everyone.
I think, they want to protect your dancer. I mean, it's as simple as that. They want to make sure that your dancer is protected, their identity is secured. As a parent, knowing that's amazing. Nowadays, man, we're getting hacked all the time. Likely spam on the phone calls, emails hacked, social media is hacked, and they want to protect that. So I think, to be a part of something like that, to align with it, is very noble, and we're happy to do so.
ICDR is not a governing body. It's not a competition, a convention. Essentially, it's just the verification layer that can work with all of those things. We can integrate with any system to provide verified legal guardian data to support and protect a dancer's journey online. Media is paramount to a dancer. It's how they measure their own progress. They're so excited to see their imagery and videos. The least that we can do is make sure that it's only accessed by legal, verified guardians. We are the privacy compliant layer for the industry.
So I'm sitting here with Jonathan, who is the owner of 3 studios down in Texas, Dance Studio Network, credible studios. Businessman, thinks a lot about his clients, first and foremost, right? So when I talked to him about ICDR, I knew that he was not a yes man. He is not going to give me a yes just to say it. What were your thoughts when I brought ICDR to you, when you were looking over it and thinking about it?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, there's a skepticism that comes to the mind.
Right.
There's a lot of ideas about how the dance world can run better, efficient models and better systems, but who's really tackling like the real elephant in the room type of questions? So my concern was like, hey, are we going to really go after this, or is this just another supplement program that's going to get kind of just buried over time?
How long, or did you kind of research before you realized, hey, this is something that looks pretty great for us? They are tackling the big stuff for us.
I always do research. So for sure, I want to get in and I want to know like who's who, what are they representing? What are their social media pages reflecting? I like to do the deep dive because I like to know who I'm talking to. And for me, it's going, man, I feel like they're saying the same message that we've been talking about for years, but not really having like a platform to really share it with.
Yeah.
So, we've talked to other dance teachers. I've talked to some owners throughout the years, but there is this common theme that keeps coming up, which is, are those kids being entered correctly? And the answer is no. And how do we do this? How do we create more fair environment? And I can only do so much as a dance studio owner. I want to know what, these dance competitions can do better to give me, the assurance.
As a dance teacher myself, I see how much weight these kids put into those awards, and you do too. Now, we know that this is a business, and we know that awards come and go, and what we're really is putting life skills into these kids. But this is a platform for them to go and dance and perform, so we put them in these competitions. Do you feel like the fairness aspect of this would ever deter you from a competition? Or do you think that ICDR is making it more so that you are wanting to go to a competition that had the ICDR product in place?
Great question. And I will say to that, yeah, there is a deterrence, not really so much for me, but for families if they see unfairness.
Right.
I'm seasoned. I've been in this for a long time, so I know what goes on. And I just tell our people, hey, know who you are, know who you're not. Like, we're going to operate with integrity and a standard, and don't look to the left or right. But that does affect people's level of commitment to wanting to compete if they feel they're being shortchanged.
Right.
So it's kind of like, hey, I'd love for my kid to compete, but I'm noticing inconsistencies, or I'm noticing what may look like favoritism. And, whether that's true or not, there's no resource out there right now that can put that to rest.
Right.
Some of these kids grow incredibly and they're like 13, but they look like they're 17,
Right.
And it's so much more peace of mind if you can say, hey, that kid's been verified. They're exactly where they're supposed to be. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Don't you think, Jonathan, that it's not even about pointing fingers, but it's just about just playing it right from the beginning, right? If we just verify a kid and it's fair across the board, then nobody ever has to guess, and we just get to go in and do our thing. Now, let me ask you this. what about all those kids dancing in those outfits that we love? We're precious. Our eyes are blind as parents, right? They're our precious child, but not everybody's kind out there. So we don't know what happens once that live stream is on.
Yeah, that's a very weighted question. As a father, I have 2 teenage daughters. So trying to protect them is already difficult in this very overly accessible world that we now live in with technology. And I think it's very naive to expect the world to treat our girls with a level of respect and privacy that they deserve. There are some pretty interesting and evil people out there that will take advantage and exploit weakness.
Yeah.
And I think the dance world itself is not a weak place, it's a very strong place, but the technology supporting it has been very weak.
Yes.
So to have a system that says, hey, we're gonna keep eyes out of the audience that don't need to be there, wonderful. We're gonna make sure that media goes to the parents and not just some blind list of emails.
Right.
That's too accessible.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm a little old school. Like, I grew up before the internet was, just at the fingertips of everybody. And I still believe that we got to protect these kids differently.
Yeah.
So having a system that actually is fair, that's accurate. I'm most concerned that, my daughter was dancing in a costume, in an outfit that's appropriate for a stage. That's not appropriate for the rest of the world.
Right.
And I think those are elements that have to be examined.
The integrity in our industry is getting harder as our industry grows and explodes. Back 20 years ago, there was the argument of, is it dance, or is it sport, or is it art? And now with the way our industry has evolved, it's becoming more and more apparent that we need to have more structure and come together and be united, because that actually gives us, respect of ourselves and the confidence in ourselves to say, oh, I've actually talked to 20 other studio owners. Great, we're on the same page. Mm-hmm. But I think having more conversations and having more unity in going forward and the confidence to go forward builds our integrity.
What could a trusted record of someone's participation in dance do for them?
I think it legitimizes dance, which is what we're all trying to do here, right? It's we're trying to streamline, we're trying to gain more knowledge and more power together so that we can have integrity in our art and sport just like other sports do. Mm-hmm. And I think that we can all agree that that is something that we all long for. I know I do, and I would love to have dancers treated like other athletes, where they can go to a space as well where they have all of their accolades, and those accolades therefore are more real and have more respect.
A digital record of everything that I did as a competitive dancer would be so beneficial now. Safety is the biggest priority that we have for our children. So if you are ready for a safe, fair, verified future in dance, self-verify today.
We're going to support them, they're going to support us. That's what community is about, right? Building a stronger community and helping each other move forward and grow for the future. Congratulations to ICDR and all the guys working there. It's amazing. We're happy to be a part of it and looking forward to moving into the future.
When we're looking around for what competition we're going to do each year, we try to go with multiple that are used the same system, just to make things easier, and just so that the data isn't kind of spread through multiple systems. So ideally I'm kind of just entering everything once. Mm-hmm. Doesn't happen all the time, but and then you don't have to go through it, and it makes it difficult too, because every competition has their own set of rules. So am I entering this as full-time? Am I entering it as part-time? Pre-comp, comp, level 1, level 2. Depends how many hours of dance each child is doing.
It's considered training hours as well.
Exactly. So then we'll get a call. Is it just your choreo classes? Is it your training classes? Is it, your stretch class? And then you find out that other studios they're using their own rules. So it would be interesting to have a more regulated kind of system. That would make my life a lot easier.
Dancers, parents, studio owners, adjudicators, everyone can finally have a voice in changing dance, the entire industry for the better. The fabric, everyone that makes up this industry is ready for change, is ready for something new and something exciting that honors their commitment, their investment, no matter where they choose to compete.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for dancers to have a voice. We should have the same thing that athletes have. ICDR can do that for you. Self-verify today.
Is finally saying we can verify who someone is. We can unlock that participant ID that is available, privacy compliant for anyone that wants to integrate with us.
This was very eye-opening for me as a dance dad. So this is one of those things that when you started breaking it down and explaining to me where my child's data is ending up without my consent or knowledge, it became immediately concerning. It's an ID, a unique ID that is associated with a dancer. Think of it like a secret passcode. And when that dancer, the information gets passed to the organizations so that when you need to go get your data, your media, today you can use that. Any government website now, you go log in to pay your taxes here in the United States, you're using your government ID, your driver's license to verify that you are who you say you are. I mean, this is just the way the world is going. And these are the securities and the protections that, especially as organizations that deal with minor.
Birth date has never been a secure way. It's not a measure or a best practice in any other industry as a measure. So I would encourage anything, candidly, aside from this, would be and a rolling upgrade.
I feel like using our birth dates, it's pretty easy to figure out someone's birth date.
You can go on
Happy 16th, right? We already know. Okay, that's your birthday.
I want you to speak to, a dancer's perspective, how important their images and their media is to them.
Tremendously. I think they put so much emphasis on how they appear and how they show up, and I think oftentimes so much of their training takes a step back because they are searching for the perfect video or the right picture. And I think at this point they say like your social media is kind of your brand and what sells you. So I think I think it's so important to them.
But I think having more conversations and having more unity in going forward and the confidence to go forward builds our integrity. And I think that doing something like this and building this online registry is maybe like a little safer way to get into everybody. It's not as intimidating. It's not as, combative to the egos. It's not as scary. Right, not threatening, because we can all agree that we want the kids to be safe.
Yeah.
You would create an individual private identification number that is specific to your dancer, your athlete, and that number is then yours and you hold on to it and it is used to register them wherever they go. So your insurance and your waivers, all of those things follow them.
ICDR has to work for every level of the competitive experience. Dancers, parents, studios, and events, or it's not gonna work. This is our chance. This is our collective opportunity to take our industry out of the wild, wild west, to modernize it and celebrate it together.
Hi, we're the PA Prep team. I'm Danny. I'm a competition director. I'm also a dance mom. And I have personally had issues in the past with people being able to access my dancers' media and use it for cyberbullying within their studio in previous years.
Hi, I'm Janae. We have thousands of dancers who dance in our competitions every year, and it's really important for us that we create a safe and fair competition, and I really think that the ICDR is going to help with that.
I'm Lulu, and as a dance teacher, it's really important that our students are verified in their age group and their level so that they can be put in the same category as other dancers that are the same level for it to be fair.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm a part of the PA Prep team, and as a dancer, I think it's really important to keep track of our exams and our competition achievements for our records in the future.
Very excited to be partnered with the ICDR this year, and we look forward to seeing what's to come next year and how to make this industry more safe and verified and fair for our dancers.
What ICDR is doing right now with the media is a great jump off point, protecting dancers and also giving that safe ID where they can track their training, dance career for whatever future purpose that they might need it for.
Raise your hand if you care who has access to your dancer's performance media. Raise your hand if you've ever questioned the age or level of a competitor at an event. Raise your hand if you invest heavily in travel fees, registration fees, convention fees, costumes, etc., and wished there was more lasting value to show for it. Double hands. Raise your hand if you trust everyone online. Did you know that dance is the last major youth activity to verify and organize its competitors?
That is kind of strange when you think about that.
It's a little weird, right?
I don't know if we just haven't all come together, and I think that that's what Jamie is trying to put forth here, is something that we are governed under, something that we can all come together to unite to do to keep the kids safe.
Hundreds of photos or videos of our children that can be accessed. And with AI now, the things people do with these pictures. It's, you know,
the alterations.
I think it's difficult for people who are like-minded and responsible and genuinely nice to think that people would do awful things, but it happens. And I always, you know, my daughter had made a mistake in a routine, and if that ever went out as a meme or something like that, I could imagine the psychological effect that would have had on her, right? And unfortunately, humans naturally tend to go to negative things, right? Like a sports blooper, someone making a mistake, like tripping, and you know, I was watching it the other day on a sports thing, like singing the national anthem, making a total mistake. That generates more views than the most incredible performance of athletic performance, right?
Yes.
And it's so, you know, you can imagine what the damage that has done to someone too. So both
what that could do, especially like in those preteen years when we're trying to decide how we feel about who we are and what we look like and how we present ourselves. What could we do for our dancers that would maybe provide a little more recognition? What kind of stats do you think would be appropriate to keep track of?
Yeah, like I was listening a lot to what those dancers were saying, and it's incredible to listen to them and how bright they really are because they've lived it. And, you know, when we compare it to other sports, right, like a hockey player will progress very clearly and you could see which ones will be able to elevate themselves. Where a lot of times when I attend competitions, you know, I shared with you and you know, your daughter is incredible, and there's just in one category, the talent level could be so different that for those who are great, it's good, or maybe not pushing them enough. And then for those who aren't, it could really discourage them. So I think it could allow for a better structure on really understanding where someone's talent is, right? And where they are from a level so that they can compete in a more level playing field maybe.
It would be nice to have something to kind of, yes, I have some videos and some photos and I try and put it, but if it was all in one place, I think that would be kind of
easier.
If anything, a wonderful memory for people.
My name's Jamie Goby. I am the owner and director of Fusion Studios. Annie Hackett. I am the owner of Kenosha Academy of Performing Arts, and I own Bloom Dance Competition based in Chicago. Juliet. I am the marketing director for our dance studio, but I'm also a dance parent. Cheyenne Dyer, and I teach at Joy McDaniel Academy of Dance and Gymnastics in Arlington, Tennessee. I love what the ICDR is doing. Safety is everything in this day and age. One student's profile on all systems, so easy to integrate, streamlined and simpler all the way across. Great to see someone stepping up in our industry, willing to make it more safe. Protecting kids is the #1 most important thing that any kid-centric business can do. One ID for one dancer? That's a really cool concept.
Go onto it, log onto it, and it's stated, okay, this is what I have accomplished. It's like right there is a resume in itself.
I feel like it's not fair that we aren't considered as athletes, because we do work as hard as like athletes that are like different than us, but we are also very important as like athletic people and as like putting our like emotions out there and like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a recognition, right?
Yeah.
Communication with whoever you can who might know the history of a dancer will definitely be a big helping factor.
I feel like this industry relies a lot on trust. We're very trusting people, and when you go into competition, you're kind of just trusting that everybody is where they're supposed to be. And then, like you said, how do you measure certain things in dance? Some things are going to be very difficult to measure because under different training is going to give you a different result, right? So technique is specific, but maybe the way a teacher runs a class or the way students learn, that's all going to be various. So it's very hard to be super specific. However, I think there needs to be something done where there is some sort of, you could call it verification or clarification that this is where that student is. Because right now I feel like a lot of it is trusting. We're trusting that these people are in the right category, age division, or whatever it is, pre-competitive, competitive, part-time, whatever. Yeah, it's hard to verify.
Yeah.
But there could be, I believe there could be something done about that. You'd think there could be something done about that.
Media is, as a dad of 2 teenage daughters, I think about this probably immensely. Making sure that, their image, their likeliness, how is it being safeguarded? It's naive to think everybody's just really nice out in the world. There's some pretty evil people, and we got to protect our kids from this next generation of technology that makes us a little too accessible. So I think, streamlining the operations to make sure these kids' media, their dancing in costumes is going to the families and no one else outside of that. I mean, dance has always been complicated. So to learn something new is kind of ironic in the sense, right? We ask students to try new things. So I think this is going to be a big challenge for us to try something new that will actually streamline it. And if I was to compare it to how competitions are run now, every single one of them, they have different software, they have different demands. It can be really confusing and repetitive. And our focus has always been the kids. So if we're going to have to try, we're going to have to grow just as we expect our kids to grow. And I think the safeguards, the privacy, and the fairness is worth, growing into. I think when we sit there, we don't want to point out all the flaws of things that aren't right. But it's really painstakingly obvious when you have kids that are put into wrong categories, whether it's division or age. And I think when it comes to competition world, it is frustrating because you're trying to do everything integrous from our end. And instead we're seeing people gain an edge, which creates an unfair advantage. If you've got a kid dancing in intermediate category who's growing and developing, and then you see a kid who's really advanced, who's been dropped down to the category of intermediate, you're telling these other kids, well, you're not good enough. And now when they come back to the studio, I have to deal with the insecurity of basically a false presentation of what intermediate looks like. And if a kid's dancing 8 to 10 hours a week, they're doing great. But if a kid's dancing 20 to 30 hours a week, they should not be competing against each other. So where's the accountability? Where is the, where's the red flags being raised in this? And instead, a lot of us were forced to sit in silence. Change is hard when you've grown up doing it a certain way. It's been passed down to you like a gift from your predecessor. But we didn't grow up in the same world we did 20 years ago. So change needs to happen to adapt to our real-time events. We didn't have social media before. Now we do. So we have to consider all the new tools we have to work with and make better choices. ICDR is way ahead of its game right now in trying to bring competitive, fair, and transparent competition world. And the only reason you wouldn't want that is if you're getting an edge. Just saying.
ICDR is just a bridge to connect studios, competitions, video providers under one shared mission about safety, structure, and just modernizing dance, so that we can all provide the studios and their teams, which are the kids and their parents, with amazing products and also amazing experiences at our events.
Anyone is welcome to jump on board, support, and help. Event owners, advisors, people in high positions. I am not the authority on dance, but I'm someone that is bringing safety, transparency, and all of that good stuff that we talked about to the table, and it's time.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Jamie.
When's the actual last time this type of a group was assembled?
Never.
That's the hardest part of finding alignment, both at the studio level and at the competition level.
There's a fear of change.
So things like dancer safety, verifying participants. How do we get comp owners on board?
I feel like as a dancer,
what could you really do about that?
My daughter had made a mistake in a routine, and if that ever went out as a meme or something like that, I could imagine the psychological effect that would have had on her, right?
The integrity in our industry is getting harder as our industry grows and explodes.
Raise your hand if you've ever questioned the age or level of a competitor at an event.
For that protection of the digital autonomy of these young people and that they have control over those images.
You can just click on it, get the birth date, and then figure out what dance comp they're at.
How do I find myself in a fair spot when there's no consistency, transparency across the industry?
We can all agree that we want the kids to be safe.
Because if we say nothing, will it change?
The stats for Hockey Canada and just that whole other world, and you look at dance and you're like, okay, let's pull.
We need to pull some of that in.
We can all come together to unite to do.
Transparency and communication is actually not that scary. It's just something that we all, I think, keep very close to our chests because it's the default behavior. It's actually pretty exciting and it's really empowering.
And I would love to have dancers treated like other athletes.
We are also very important as like athletic people.
In 2025, it's about time. We have to be verified.
We can open a bunch of doors to support more clarity in competition. We just need to know who that dancer is first and who their parent is first.
All right. Happy International Dance Day, everybody. If you've got the ability to put your camera on, put your camera on. I'm so excited to see everyone's faces. My name is Michael Ian Cedar, and I've been invited to moderate today's conversation. So for the next 90 minutes, I'm excited to be able to guide you through a lot of really powerful conversations with a lot of really interesting people, including yourselves. And yeah, I know in the registration, it said it's called the industry alarm. How do we keep dancers safe and our industry fair? And that is going to be where we're shining the flashlight on. But what today is actually about is about belonging. Dance is a place to belong. I'd imagine all of you, if not most of you at least, have experienced some time in your life, whether it was you or somebody else, that your dance environment created a sense of belonging, maybe even saved somebody's life psychologically or in its entirety. Is that right? Because dance is a tradition. Dance is a family. And so let's not have this seem like some typical Zoom. Let's make this real. Let's make this alive. Again, if you have the opportunity, put your camera on. Put your camera on, and the count of three, lean into the camera just a little bit and wave to everybody that's here right now. Look at that. Look at all the excitement. And there's some faces in here I haven't seen in many years as well. Dance is a tradition. And a tradition is when a teacher has a teacher. That's what makes dance a tradition. How many of you remember your teacher? Wave your hand. Now keep your hands up if you remember your teacher, because obviously you remember your teachers. That's why you're here. They inspired you. But here's my next question for you. How many of you, keep your hands up if you remember or know your teacher's teacher? Put your hand up if you knew your teacher's teacher. Right? A few hands went down. And put your hand up and leave it up if you knew your teacher's teacher's teacher. Yeah, it's starting to go down a little. Anyone hand remaining still? Right? JT's got it. Anyone else? So today is about belonging. Today is about passing the tradition down. Today, like any community, which dance is about, hey, do I feel safe here? Can I be myself here? Do I have the ability in my community to both add value to the community and to give value of the community? And that's what today is about. And by the end of today, I hope there's some conversation that happens which makes you look at the community with an even bigger heart than you already have. I do want to remind you several things. We are recording today because I think the conversations we're having today are very important. And the reason I see them as very important, if you let me geek out for just 1 minute, is we're experiencing something that we've never experienced before in history. And I am not making this up. This was actually taught to me by one of my teachers, who their teacher is an executive at Google, who actually did the data on this. I'm just handwriting it. If we take a look at the world right now, whether dance, geopolitically, climate, name a topic, technologically, AI, there's a rate of change that's always happened in human life. And then there's the amount of time. And for the first time ever in life, the rate of change, right, of the world, of comps, of norms, society norms, is moving faster than humans' ability to adapt. So I'm just going to turn around here for a second. Looking at this model, I think my art project was not the best in my life, but I think I got the point. How many of you are feeling right now that the world is changing faster than everyone's ability to adapt? Just put your hand up. Wave it over the camera so we can see it on the screen. How many of you are feeling, whether it's the younger generations and our children and the students at the studio, that the way they consume the world is different than the way we consume the world? If you're feeling that, wave your hands. And all of this technology that we happen to be using right here and right now is part of that change, and it's here. And so this is not a normal Zoom call today. So I'm going to give you 15 seconds to do whatever you want to do, to send one last text to say, hey, I'm going to be off the grid for 90 seconds or 90 minutes. Or if you need to send one last message, or if you need to just let the dog in or let the dog out, or if you have a cat, if you're a cat person, you can do that too. This is not a normal time. I hope you're already sensing that. And we know you're going to have questions throughout today's experience. And because we only have 90 minutes, we're not going to be able to answer every question online. But I want to just make sure you know, if you do have questions, what I'd like you to do, because most of us are familiar with Zoom, is just look down and look for the button that says Q&A. And if it's not on your screen, then hit the More button that's next to it, and it should say Q&A. How many of you are able to see that? How many of you just see that? Cool. So if you have questions throughout, whether it's something for one of our speakers, it's something about ICDR, it's something about belonging, it's something about the way today's moderated, I invite you, as you can see, to share, participate, ask questions, but we may not get to them all, but we'll give you the opportunity to make sure those questions get to be answered throughout the day. And so I also wanted to let you know, especially, how many of you are dance educators? Wave your hands over the screen like this, right? So one of my favorite parts about dance educators is they like to educate, and they like to educate me too. And so at the very end of today, it's not about me though, it's about you. Is it okay with everyone if I have you do like a 2-minute survey saying, what did you get from today and what can we do better for you in the next time we meet? Are you everyone okay if I ask you to fill out a survey at the end today? Great. And that's all optional. You don't have to do that, but it just helps us meet the community because we want to make sure that everyone feels like they're adding and receiving value. Okay. With that being said, if you're ready to go, just lean in just a little bit. And if you're ready to go, just even though it's going to be quiet, you can just say, I'm in, going like this. That's my choreography. That's my best choreography. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm in. All right. I'd like to bring Jamie onto the Zoom stage right now. Jamie, hello, Jamie. You're looking mighty sprightly today.
Thank you. So are you, as always.
Thank you very much. So thanks for hosting this. Thanks for asking me to moderate as a neutral party, because I have a lot of conversations with competitions, with studios, with dancers. So thank you for having that. But I'm going to let you just share a little bit about why we're here.
Well, thank you for setting that up so eloquently, because conversation is key. And that's what we're doing here today. So thank you to your team for setting this up so well. And just for everyone in this room, thank you for being here and for bringing your expertise from your corner of the dance world into this very room. Because the conversations that have been happening across studios, events, and communities, often behind closed doors, behind the curtain, in group chats on Facebook, or on the drive home after a competition, are exactly why this moment matters right now. Today isn't just another meeting, as Michael said. It's a chance to bring those conversations into this room together. There's been a lot of discussion about ICDR, how it works, what it means, and where it fits for you. So before we go any further, let's take a moment to simply walk through it, to see it, to understand it, and see that process together, verification. I'll be back shortly, and I want to encourage you all to stick around because you will hear from industry leaders that are already shaping this industry, including Brian Friedman. I'm kind of obsessed. And also a very deeply and personal story from Sophia, Lucia, and a bunch of other people that you definitely will recognize. And we have a very, very large and huge announcement that affects all of us, which I will be coming back on screen for. So for now, let's just start with clarity and let's just look at the process.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Hodgins, Executive Director of the International Competitive Dancer Registry. So let's learn a little bit more about how ICDR works.
Getting started with ICDR is simple, secure, and it's built to protect your dance families. The verification process is very straightforward. You can register on your mobile device or your computer. You will just need a government-issued photo ID, in this case, a driver's license. First, complete the sign-up form at icdrdance.com. You can sign up using your existing Apple ID or by entering your birth date, email address, and creating a password.
Once you have verified your email address, just have your valid government ID ready and you can begin the verification process.
Follow the prompts, which will vary depending on which device you are using. The process is easiest on a mobile device. Please note that the ID verification process is a timed event to prevent fraud. Ensure you complete all the steps within the given time. When prompted, allow access to your camera. Finally, you can scan your chosen ID. Scan the front first and follow the on-screen instructions. And then, when prompted, scan the back. Next, take the requested images using your selfie camera on your phone or your webcam. These images are then used by ICDR to verify the identity of the user against the photo contained within the government ID. Once verified, your ID and photos are instantly and permanently deleted, and all we keep is a record of successful verification. The ID verification process is administered by Privo, who power safe, global access to the best digital experiences for minors. They have been the leading global industry expert in online privacy for minors, identity and consent management for over 25 years, and are trusted by some of the world's leading kid-centric brands. ICDR is a secure, centralized registry that protects dancers' data with bank-grade encryption at every step. Your dancers' details are hidden behind a unique dance ID, allowing events to verify age, levels, and guardianship without exposing their personal information. Our self-verification platform allows users to view, update, or permanently delete their data whenever they choose. Parents stay in control at all times. Using modern security tools like Apple ID and multi-factor sign-ons, ICDR helps to give you privacy control across the entire industry. This centralized approach keeps data safe online while also unlocking new trust in the systems we rely on. This is our service, and we've only just begun.
And that's it. You're verified. It's that easy, and remember, you only need to verify once. Now, you can safely onboard your dancer and really get started with ICDR.
Thank you, Jamie and team, for putting that together. I know a lot of people have been asking me, what is ICDR, including my father, who's not even in the dance world. He's a musician, but he's super curious about it. So I hope that lifts some of the mystery of exactly what it is. today's International Dance Day. And whether it's International Dance Day or not, I'm sure you spend more time in your studio, for many of you, than you actually do in your own homes with your friends or families or partners. And so I want to ask you a question, because you chose to be here on Zoom instead of at the bar, meaning the ballet bar, or Zoom instead of here and on the floor. And so I want to ask you a question. And we're going to launch something for you to put it inside. Again, we don't have the ability because we have a compressed period of time, but we want to capture your answers to understand what's bringing you into the room today. Why is it important that you are in the room? So we're going to launch a poll there. And I'm going to give you some examples of what that might look like. Why is it important for you yourself to be here? Like having these dialogues, these conversations about the industry. Why is it important for your students? Why is it important for your business or the businesses that you partner with? Why is it important for the future of the industry, of the tradition of dance? So I want you to put your answer inside the poll that was just launched. We're not going to be sharing your answers out loud. What we're going to do is we're going to take the aggregate answers, because there's 100 of you in this room right now, showing how important this conversation is. And so far, we got 7 of you to be able to give us your answers, but I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you because we're going to synthesize it down and go, hey, 50% of the room, it was important for them to be here today because they just like to keep their pulse on things. 20% of the room is here because they've had a massive incident with fairness, safety, or verification in the competitive arts or the arts world. So I'm going to give you another minute to fill that out. And you can answer that poll. And maybe you have more than one answer. But you chose to be here versus the many other places you could be. We have 30% of you who have given an answer. Thank you so much. It's going to help me and the team and ICDR understand where everyone's flashlight pointed to right now. Got 38% of the room. Let's go for 50% of the room before we move to the next slide, because this is so important. And I also want you to also self-reflect. I'm a big journaling fan, right? By trade, I'm a mindset and leadership coach. The idea to take our thoughts and put them into words is some of the greatest gifts we can offer ourselves and the children and dancers and parents and individuals that are in our cares as leaders as well. I'm going to keep that poll open for just a little bit longer while we move on. Erad and team from ICDR and the Legacy of You, I'm going to let you close it when you're ready. Because we do have some voices that I want to make sure that we hear today. And I want everyone to try something real fast. If you look at the bottom, you have a react button. Click one of those buttons. Someone did it before. You're going to see like hearts come up on the screen, or you're going to see whatever emoji you put into that react section float up on the screen. So I want you to give love to the speakers that are coming on today, the influencers, the amazing depth of talent that's in this room, including yourself. And so to start off, I want to give some love. If you all give waves and hearts and likes, I want to start off by bringing Ryan from A.D.A.P.T. Syllabus and Christine from the Protégé Dance Company up onto the stage with me, because I've got some questions for you. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Christine. Let's unmute them too. I think they might be able to mute themselves. I'm not sure.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And again, give some love for Ryan and Christine. Again, if you want to know more about them and their backgrounds, we're not here to give a playbill bio. We're just here to have deep conversations. So we'll make sure we have that information accessible to you. Ryan, I'm going to start with you. I want to ask the first question is, and that's because this is all open-ended. So I'm not looking for you to answer. This is unscripted. I want to celebrate the industry already, right? As a leadership coach, my job is to take what you do well and do it even better. And so let's just go with the first question there. So Ryan, I want to start with you. Where have you seen an evolution in the dance industry that already is put into place to keep dancers safe?
Well, to be totally honest,
other than what I believe that, current studio owners and industry leaders are doing now, I don't know of any one specific thing in the world that I am surrounded by that has done anything specific to protect dancers from, what's out there today. So this is why, when Jamie approached me, I believe it was back in August, about this whole idea and opportunity, it piqued our curiosity and our interest to see what it was about and where it was going to go. Because I believe, protecting dancers, especially nowadays, is important. And I'm no tech savvy guy, but I just know it's crazy. It's funny. Before I jumped on this meeting, I got a message from someone saying, "Don't answer this or answer that. I've been hacked." Funny enough, right? So here we are trying to, I guess, do better by that. So, and I've got a lot of questions too. I'm curious to see what this is all about and where it's going to go, because there's a lot that I don't know. But I'm curious, and if it helps the community become better and more secure, and we can focus on what it really is we do is dance, because all this other stuff is a distraction, man. And if it distracts us from what we do on the dance floor, then I think, that's where we can step in and make it better. And if we can be a part of that, then, we want to support it. So,
you bring up a great point, Ryan. Sorry, cut you off. What were you saying there at the end there?
No worries. No, I just, we're here with an open mind and open eyes, and we're listening to everybody. And I don't think I've got a bigger voice or platform or should be speaking more than anybody else here deserves to speak, I'm sure. I'm just one guy that's been around it for a while, and this is all I know and all I do, and I'm honored to be a part of this. And if it's a good positive thing moving forward, then we want to support it. Yeah. And we're just going to see how everything unfolds as this whole new. It's new to me as this whole new thing. I don't know everything or have all the answers as to how it all works. So I'm curious.
And so, Ryan, the thing that you said that really vibes with me is, hey, it's a distraction otherwise, right? And we talked about dance being a tradition. And the moment we get in the way of the next people that are going to be bringing the tradition of dance forward, if we don't help them be able to be on the floor and learn the craft and the tradition, what happens to the craft? Christine, what about you? Where have you seen an evolution in dance, in the industry, competition, otherwise, where we are keeping dancers safe? Because there are people who do have focus on this, and I want to celebrate those moments.
Absolutely. I wear many hats. One of them is being a studio owner. And I really believe that all of us are doing the best we know to protect children. I really feel that we are a team. We're working together. But when you ask, what's the evolution? I don't know if there has been, like Ryan said, a movement that is bringing and collaborating everybody together. So this is such an eye-opener. Same thing when I was approached back in the summer, I had no idea that we were so naive, right? That I was so naive. Here I am in my bubble, right? We're all in our bubbles sometimes, just doing the best we can. And it feels like an island every once in a while because you're just going. And Jamie approaches me with this concept, and I'm like, I cannot believe that I've exposed my kids to this, right? To the online. So concerns with safety, absolutely. I feel that, the safety of the kids online, well, we want their well-being in the classroom. Like that's our top priority. So if we extend past the walls of our studio, well, we're in a digital world. We really need to take care of them. We really do. And I feel that everyone who's here, I'm sure, and those who aren't, can't argue that, right? I feel like it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, you bring up something interesting in the sense of like, you don't know what you don't know. It's called a double bind, right? But not only do we not know what we don't know, but we also are experiencing what we showed here is we don't understand this right now. This point where the technology and the changes and the opportunity to track someone or watch someone, we don't know what that looks like yet. So yeah, there might be a little naivety from time to time, but right now we are all a little in the dark of what does this all mean? So you bring up a really valid point. Everyone, let's give some love to Christine, to Ryan, And thank you so much for both of you having on. I'd like to bring up Morgan, JT, and Jonathan. Morgan is the studio owner at Next Gen Dance. JT is from Dance Attack Competitions. He's the event owner. He's also an educator himself. And Jonathan is from the Dance Studio Network. Jonathan, haven't seen you in a hot minute. Good seeing you again. Question for each of you. I want to go to the second question that I have up on the screen here. And again, give some love up to Morgan, JT, and Jonathan if you have not already. You know, we heard both from Christine and Ryan. They're like, I don't see so much. And you know, that was asking the question in the affirmative, like, hey, where is the opportunity? But let's go for a second. You each, from your perspectives and the scale that you all work at, have seen there are concerns, right? Or at least you have concerns. I don't want to project that on you. So tell us each a quick story of a time that you did have concerns about the safety of a dancer or youth, whether it was online, in person, at an event. And the question is, yeah, what happened? But what did you learn from it? So I'm going to pass that to you. And Morgan, why don't you go first?
Oh, I'm unmuted.
You're already unmuted.
Okay. You did it for me. Okay. Hi. One thing that I can speak to is not within my studio, but it did make me think when I did hear this story is of a recent situation involving someone that I know who is now an adult who was contacted by a detective to identify herself in explicit AI generated images of her as a teenager. Yeah. So, which is a really scary situation to be in. She literally had to go in and look at these images of her face when she was a teenager. And as this isn't dance related, it did make me start thinking about all of these students that we have on stage being photographed, filmed, live streamed, where often the content is accessible to anyone. So, and then when I was contacted by Jamie to have a conversation about all of this, it made me bring up that story because I had just found out about it. So It was all kind of something I started thinking about, and then also thinking about why wouldn't we take that next step to safeguard the children that are in our studios every single day.
And Morgan, the story you tell, it's like, oh, that doesn't happen in real life. That doesn't happen to people. That's something on Law and Order, right? Which there literally was an episode about exactly that, as a matter of fact, because my wife loves Law and Order. So Morgan, thanks for sharing that story. That's freaking me out a little bit. JT, what about you? What have you learned from things you've seen?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me today, Michael. As a event producer, our responsibility is to safeguard young people. The buck actually stops with us. And so I have seen the evolution of AI and how quickly, further to Morgan's point, something can be altered or digitally recreated. So as an event producer, we refrain from posting any images that are taken at all on our social media because we don't know where they could land. We will reshare what people do. We will, if somebody sends us images of their children, to me that they've authorized us to share those images. Nonetheless, further to Morgan's point, there is a photographer that I've heard of now who will digitally alter and fix, make corrections in images that the dancers, for social media with all good intent. But I just worry about where things are going, and I appreciate that ICDR is approaching this. I believe we will need to have safeguards in place that bring our industry in lockstep with how technology is progressing. I'd rather be alongside the technology instead of catching up to or responding to an incident that may happen.
Yeah, it's what you're saying is like you're learning, you're seeing it, you're learning as you go, and it's just the opening of like, wow, it's our responsibility. It's your responsibility as an event producer. And I do want to say, as an event producer myself, I really appreciate the cassette tape we have. How many of you remember cassette tapes with your judges' critiques at competitions? Uh-huh. Yeah. So thanks, JT. It's hearing your perspective is super powerful as well, because we didn't ask you guys to say anything. We just said, hey, we want you to answer a question. Come on. So Jonathan, same for you. You've got, I think, 3 studios, if not more, down in Texas, and everything's bigger in Texas, including the size of the studios, right?
Absolutely.
So I asked the same question to you because you're seeing this day in and day out. I know you're heavy in the competition circuit because I know you used to come to events I used to produce.
Well, awesome. One, I'm just stoked we're finally having this conversation about safety. I'm hyper observant with what's going on with these kids, the behaviors, the patterns that we're seeing. And I think, the wake up call should have been when COVID happened and it forced our entire industry to go online. And a lot of people are not tech savvy in this area. So expecting, there to not be bad people out there to take advantage of weakness and exploit it. I think there were a lot of horror stories out there where people jumped into those Zooms because they weren't password protected. There was a lot of crazy stories that I heard across the industry where they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. So to me, I felt like, all right, we're finally waking up to the reality that this is something serious. We have to protect these kids. And just to make everybody feel really old, like anybody who's 10 years old was born in 2016. Like that's only 2 years ago, right? So like these kids have grown up, but were forced into a social media world. They didn't have what we all grew up with, which was a lot of safeguards. You can make mistakes, you could be silly, you could be funny, whatever, and no one was filming you. No one had access to you. No one had the ability to replicate your image or do things horribly with AI. So I think what we have to just say as a standard is like, man, we've got to protect these kids. We've got to protect their image, their likeness, and make sure that we're only granting people with the right access to them. So for me, I have 2 teenage daughters, and this is something that we talk about on the weekly and why we don't want them to have social media before 18, because I'm like, I don't know what else is out there. I trust you. I just don't trust others. And I think we have to be serious enough to say, hey, we can trust each other in this industry, but we have to protect these kids from those that are on the outside that are looking to peer in. So for me, this has been a huge concern, and I'm so glad we're finally addressing it.
Yeah, Jonathan, thank you for speaking of that so clearly. Same with JT and Morgan. I was writing stuff down as everyone was talking, and there's a few phrases that I've heard repeat itself. And again, not planned. This is what we heard. I had no idea. I don't know what's out there. There used to be safeguards or like a firewall. You didn't use that word, but right, you were protected. Social media, protect, the reality. You're all saying these words. And so, like you said, Jonathan, it's important to pay attention. So everyone, let's give some likes, loves, and hearts to what Morgan, JT, and Jonathan said. You could also wave at them and say hello and give some loves up on the screen so it floats to the top. Thanks very much, everyone. Jonathan brought up something really important before. We can take him off the screen, though. And our next, it just dovetails perfectly into someone that filmed a video for us, who you'll all probably know the words of. And by the way, is everyone getting at least something out of what everyone's saying here? Just give a thumbs up. Is everyone grabbing something? Even if it's just an idea or an awareness or a, wow, I need to reach out to Morgan or JT or anyone. I'm probably surprising her a little bit here. We have, like I said, someone who filmed a video for us, and that was a name that we all know. I don't think she needs actual introduction. And I want to play her video, and that's Sophia Lucia. And I remember her growing up through the ranks, and I want to bring her on the screen just for a minute. She probably doesn't know I'm doing that. Just a minute to prove this is not an AI generated video. It's because I saw her come in before. Is Sophia still here? Can we spotlight her?
She's currently off camera.
Oh, she's off camera. Okay. Well, if at the end, Sophia, you're okay with us bringing you on, we'll bring you on camera. But I want to share this video. We want to share this video. I know I'm saying I a lot because I use the word we often. I do want to make it clear. I've been asked to moderate this, and thank you for thanking me to have you on. But at the end of the day, this is the ICDR team that curated this whole thing, and I'm just excited to be able to be the MC. And so, again, don't need to give an introduction here. Again, we can offer you bios for people after the event. But I think this story, when I heard it for the first time, I had no idea. And I have a feeling you're going to have some aha moments yourself, and they're not the best kind of aha moments, as we hear Sophia's story. Here we go.
Hi ICDR, it's Sophia, Lucia here, and I'm going to tell you why you should get verified today. Before I do that, here's a little bit about me. I'm a professional dancer and choreographer, and when I was 10 years old, I broke a Guinness World Record for the most consecutive pirouettes. And 13 years later, oh my gosh, I'm getting old, and 13 years later, I still hold the record today. But I'm telling you that information because during that time, I had a very scary situation happen to me, and it is why we need to get verified and why we need to make change in the world dance world. So growing up, I quickly rose to internet stardom because of the Guinness World Record and because of all the industry jobs I was doing. It was right around the time that YouTube and social media was getting big. I was one of the first kids to have 1 million followers on Instagram, which, you know, obviously like seems amazing and it seems really cool, but comes with a price sometimes and a lack of privacy. But that lack of privacy can be avoided if dance competitions and dance parents do their job. So a little bit about my story that I'm about to share, and the reason why I feel comfortable sharing it, just to preface this, is because the person that I'm about to talk to you about has passed on, and I feel safe saying this, and I thank ICDR for giving me a safe space to be vulnerable and to communicate to you. But growing up, dance competitions, everything was kind of made public knowledge. If your dance competition studio address was open to the public, my address was open to the public. And dance competitions didn't have any verification to buy photos and videos, so anyone could buy your own photos and videos. And live streams were getting big, so screen recordings and all that good stuff were going on the internet immediately. But because people had such an interest in my life, people were buying my photos and videos pretty frequently at all these competitions, which is just wrong. What if it's an unflattering photo? What if it's a photo that I would never want posted on the internet and someone is able to go buy it and post it? It just feels wrong. It's still wrong. But because of that, I had a stalker. His name was Chuck, and he was around 60 years old at the time that this occurred. And he started obviously following me from YouTube, and he would start coming to my competitions, and he would buy my photos and videos. And then he would send very graphic photos of me and him together to my dance studio, and then also to my house. So it started at my dance studio here. He would just send pictures there, and then it started going to where he would be sending things to my house. He'd be sending me gifts, or he'd be sending me videos of himself, or he would be sending photos, very, very, very graphic photos of me and him together. And it would be like a picture from me and my dance, like my solo, like my contemporary solo with my leg behind my head because I was super flexible. You can use your imagination. So it got so bad that the FBI ended up getting involved because he was coming to my dance studio to watch, he was coming to competitions to film, and he was still buying all of my photos and videos. At every competition, he would go up to the desk and he would buy photos and videos of me. So it kind of was just a constant cycle for 2 years. My parents were made aware by the FBI who caught this behavior. And he is now passed on and we got it figured out. But I keep thinking if I wasn't like such a high profile child, would have anyone caught that? Because I don't think that I'm the only one that this happens to. So when Miss Kim came to me and told me about ICDR, I knew that I had to be a part of it because I don't want this to happen to any kid. I didn't understand what was going on at the time. I recently talked to my mom about it because I wanted more information, and I felt so violated and I felt so uncomfortable, and all I kept thinking was, I hope that we can make real change so that this may never happen to my own students or any other kid that was in that position. Let's make dance safe. And everyone keeps saying that, and we've been saying it for years, but no one's really done the work or making real change. So it's so important that you get verified. It's so important that you believe in this cause and that you understand that we really can make a difference. You just have to act on it. And I want to protect my own students. I want to make sure that we create a safe space for them, that no weirdos can buy photos and videos anymore. I just want it to be a safe place, and I think together we can do that. But let's not have another Chuck win. Let's not have another stalker for a 10-year-old kid.
who might be amazing at dance, but does that mean that they deserve a stalker? No. So you can make the change. Get verified today. And thank you guys so much for your time. And I hope that you truly realize how amazing this is and how this can change your dancer's life and trajectory into their dance career. Thank you so much.
Michael, you're muted still.
Thank you so much for letting me know that. Even with all the technology, can't figure out how to get that darn mute button. If you didn't give it and you want to give it, give some likes, some loves to the story you just heard in the sense of it being shared, right? That takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to share it. I saw many of your reactions. Rosalie, I saw you feeling really strongly about that. How many of you knew that story? How many of you knew that story, right? And that's so one, too few of you raised your hands, but the minority of you raised your hands. And as Sophia said, she was already in the public spotlight, right? How many of these stories do we not know? How many more will it take for us to know? At what point does it need to hit the news, right? And there is no one gateway to solving all of this, but why would we not do everything in our power to? And there's something that Sophia said that stuck out to me. I wrote it down. She says, she goes, thank you for being part of the cause, right? I don't think ICDR is calling themselves a cause. Maybe you are. But regardless if, Sophia sees it as a cause, but it shouldn't be a cause, right? It shouldn't have to be a cause. And that's why we're here today. How can I add value? How can I receive value in the tradition of dance? And so Sophia brings up some really powerful questions that we can ask of ourselves. And I'm not the one who can even answer them. There's very few people who have the answers. There's very few people, if anyone has the answers. But the two people that I would like to bring up right now is Bryce Hunter, who is the ICDR CTO, the Chief Technology Officer. He's also a new dance parent himself. Is that right, Bryce? Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Literally last weekend was my twin daughter's much delayed first dance class. Their older brother's been dancing for a few years, but
welcome.
They finally got their time to shine. It was painfully adorable.
Welcome to the rabbit hole of dance. You get to experience it firsthand from many angles. So Bryce knows a lot about technology, and that's why we want him here. But he also works very closely with Claire. Thanks for being here with us, Claire. Claire is a children and teen privacy advisor and expert, and she's helped many different kid-centric industries manage compliance. Like, this is a real thing. There's people, thankfully, like Claire, who are doing this already, and we don't have to create the roadmap. And so Claire's also dealing with compliance and the verification, not only at the local level, but establishing global standards. So I'm going to hop off screen, but let's give some love. Let's give some likes. And real quick, just because it's fun to see everybody present, everyone give some love to the two of them as well for being here and sharing their knowledge about this rate of change versus our ability to keep up with it. Thanks so much, Bryce and Claire.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, let's talk regulatory compliance. The first thing I'm sure we all think.
The interesting bit, not. Oh, have I frozen?
Oh no, I believe Bryce has frozen.
I believe the CTO just froze technologically. There he is. He's back now.
I'm back. I popped back in.
All right, there you go.
Amazing.
Well done.
No, I was just saying that just very, very happy to have you here, Claire, because yes, as Michael mentioned, you're not just thinking about this from the ICDR's perspective, but you are thinking about this from an international perspective every day and working with major brands to help ensure that compliance is put at the forefront, that child data protection is put at the forefront, that not only are you a fountain of insights and clarity for us at the ICDR, but also equally importantly, you're an all-around really great person and a wonderful person to connect with on all these fronts. So thank you for the time to connect here today with us.
It's a pleasure, Bryce. I'm so happy that everyone's having the conversation.
Yeah. So I had suggested some high-level topics in a previous conversation with you, and I figured we may as well just dig right into it, and just kind of get to the meat of some of these things and some of the big tentpole aspects of why we care so much about this space. I think one of the things that screams out to me initially whenever I think about this or think about it applying to a different industry is what happens when compliance goes wrong. Like ultimately, there's been some very high profile cases from YouTube to more recently Roblox, and there's been massive fines. How can you walk us through how a company or an industry would end up in that situation? At Michael mentioned rate of change. It's extreme at the same time as, everyone's trying to do their best. How does a company or an industry end up in this situation?
Yeah, lots of different reasons, in honesty. With some of the big tech and social platforms, it's almost willful ignorance. With a lot, it's absolute not a lack of understanding of what you should and shouldn't be doing. So, oftentimes what we see is that a lot of data has been collected about a person that builds their digital footprint. And, particularly in someone like Sophia's case, which I've seen many times over globally, unfortunately, is you have a digital footprint from the moment that, from a child right the way through, and it carries with you and it has real world consequences. So often what we've seen and the reason companies end up in a bad place in terms of compliance is a lack of understanding of the data that they've collected, where they're housing it, is it stored securely, who is it disclosed to, who has access to it, because all of those things, all of those elements come together to pose a lot of harms and risks to children in particular, but to all users online. And when I talk about children, in today's regulatory landscape, I'm talking children being U18, because most of the regulations now, fortunately, have gone beyond just 13 and 12 and under. So often it's a lack of understanding of the data collection and use, where it's stored, is it stored securely? Then there's a lack of parent consent. Parents not really having the transparency, or users, and in your case dancers, understanding what data is collected about them and how it's used. So not transparent notice to parents and dancers, and then not valid parent consent and no age assurance or age verification or identity verification, because we all own our online identity. And it's one of the most important things. It's no different to offline. There is no difference between online and offline today. So what you'll see with a lot of cases that have happened is you'll see huge fines nowadays. So as you pointed out, Roblox was 35.8 million, the latest fine. Recently, YouTube was 170 million for misuse of child data. Fortnite was something like 500 million. And it isn't just gaming companies, it's anyone who stores digital data online. So Weight Watchers had a huge case not that long ago, I think last year. So, not understanding what data you have and not treating it in the right way has consequences. It has consequences for the end users, the dancers, whose data it is, and it has consequences for anyone who collects that data and manages it. And just quickly to say that it isn't just about the expense of a fine. There's a lot of brand damage, trust, loss of integrity of a brand, and there's a huge distraction when dealing with a compliance issue, because the business or the organisation now needs to focus on meeting the requirements that the regulators put in place for them because they've mishandled data. And that means they can't get on with all the great things they should be doing as an organisation. So while I'd say compliance isn't always a sexy subject, it's one of the most important subjects for everyone handling data.
That makes total sense. And on that note, when it comes to a world like dance with so many players and so many different pieces of infrastructure that follow a dancer's journey from, a recreational performer in the classroom management solution all the way through to competition management software and all the other touch points in between, and this is where things get very, I think, complicated. Who owns the data? And more importantly, or equally importantly, who's responsible for it inside of the ecosystem?
It's a really good question, Bryce. So who owns the data is we own our own data. It is ours in general under most privacy regulations, but in general, we own our own data. So the dancer's digital ID is theirs and should carry with them. But the company or the organisation responsible for it is anyone collecting it online. So any organisation, anyone holding digital data of a child is responsible. It's responsible for the security of that data, who it's disclosed to, and how it's managed. So, you know, without knowing what you're doing, without knowing what data you have and how you're looking after it, there is no way to protect it. So, you know, in order to be able to protect the end user, the dancer who owns that data, and whoever's collecting it, you have to have this in place. So it doesn't matter if 5 different organizations have it, they've all responsible for protecting it and looking after it, and therefore ultimately protecting the dancer. Now, one way to achieve that is to have a federated ID, a digital identity that you can reuse in lots of different places, because then you're not sharing that data over and over again with different organizations. And it can be done in a very privacy preserving way where you have that ID, and every time you need to show it or it needs to be proven online, you're not sharing your personal data. It's a verification of the fact that you are who you are.
Amazing. I mean, so from that perspective, what can, you know, there's a lot of studio directors on this call. What can studio directors who are the gold standard for creating safe spaces for dancers, what could they be doing to better protect their dance families and themselves from a compliance perspective? Because, you know, at the end of the day, this is all about kids, right? Like this is, you know, supporting the safety mission of parents, studio directors, competitions, owners, operators, and the technology companies that this industry runs on. But how do we, is there any key messages that you'd want to pass on to them in specific about how to create that safe space?
Yeah, I mean, from hearing the discussion from when I arrived, I can tell that everyone takes it very seriously and is doing a great job. I think with studios, I'm sure that you're, and it's not my world of dance, but I'm sure that there's a lot of things that you're doing, and the creative side is the most important, and managing what you're doing as a business. So, you know, I think by protecting the data that you have as a studio, you're then protecting the dancer. So it's a win-win, basically. And I think what's really important is to understand that it's not your job to understand the regulatory landscape. It's huge. There is a new law passed at state virtually every month at the moment, state level, federal level. There's so much to deal with. So understanding the ways to manage the data that you're working with by adopting new, advanced, up-to-date, cutting-edge, state-of-the-art policies, processes, such as digital identity, and adopting those is really important, because many of the regulations now, in terms of compliance, privacy and safety, they go hand in hand, protections, require age verification and parent consent. If you have a one-stop privacy preserving solution for that, that's certified compliant by a regulator, then you are solving a lot of the issues that you have to deal with, you know, in terms of managing data and managing that data securely. So it's being very aware of the data that you're collecting and what you do with that data, but also adopting measures such as the registry, such as the digital identity, a dance ID, to be able to be privacy preserving, because that's one of the best ways to protect the families, the dancers, and the studios at the same time.
Amazing. No, that's awesome. I don't want to completely overrun our time. I do. We joked about this in advance that we probably talk about compliance and regulatory for an hour and really bore everyone to death on this call. But it is a fascinating space and a very complicated one at that, which makes it does make it extremely, extremely interesting to mine for insights on how not just how the world works, but how our specific industry can be best embracing regulatory and compliance at the same time as leveraging it as a way to make the world a bit better rather than making our lives more bureaucratic and complicated. So amazing. Claire, thank you so much for your time and your investment in safety. Most importantly, thank you for always making sure our team's incredibly meeting your incredibly high bar. With that, actually, there's another team that deserves a big thank you, which is DanceBug, who've believed in our mission from the very start. They're one of our very first technology integration partners, and they've been on the bleeding edge of this competitive dance technology and safety for decades. They brought that same energy and commitment to safety since the very first conversation that we had with them. So I don't know, Michael, if you want to key off the video with them, but we have a video with I was told I was going to, so. It's a privilege, and you're on mute again, Michael.
You know what's happening? It's like it's muting and unmuting me, but here we are. Bryce, Claire, thank you so much. And I'm sitting listening to you. I'm going, thank God the both of you exist, because what would exist without you doing the work that you're doing right now? And, you know, it makes me think of, we fear what we don't know, right? We fear what we don't know. And what you just did was you lifted the veil a little bit. You know, we're artists, most of us, right? And you're talking about compliance, and it's real conversations. And what was really amazing, I was watching the participant count, and even though you were saying, oh, who wants to talk about compliance? Everyone stayed. And that shows how important this is. And that shows what the community is. And as you mentioned, Bryce, DanceBug is a massive contributor to the shift into how do we keep up with the world right now? How do we, especially in the dance world? And so what we've got is a video that so nicely was put together by Al Heller and Elliot Sammons, two of the three owners of the DanceBug, and Katie Best, who is the customer support manager. And I'm gonna roll this video. So thanks so much, Bryce, and let's see what they have to say.
Hi, I'm Al. And I'm Elliot, and we here at DanceBug are proud to be the first technological partner fully integrated with the ICDR. Dancer privacy has always mattered to us. We know date of birth is no longer a sufficient form of dancer identification.
We encourage our dance competition partners and our studio partners, along with dancers and parents, to find out about the ICDR, to take advantage of all the ICDR offers, and know that DanceBug is here 100% to support you in any way you wish to use it.
Welcome to the future. Happy dancing.
Hi, I'm Katie, DanceBug's customer support manager. One of the most common challenges we face is when different parts of an event are handled by different systems. Registration might live in one platform, media capture and distribution in another, and studio data somewhere else entirely. What that creates is multiple records for the same dancer, same studio, same competition, same events, and same routines that don't always match or communicate. It leads to confusion, extra admin work, room for errors, delays, and frustration for everyone. Platforms like DanceBug might be able to fix certain pieces independently, but that doesn't solve the bigger issue. ICDR is a system that introduces a shared identity layer, something that sits above individuals and businesses and allows them to speak. When that happens, data becomes clearer, platforms align, and control can shift back into the right hands. There is so much opportunity here, and we can't wait to see how the future unfolds.
You're muted again.
One day I'll get it right. So many perspectives to be able to share, to be able to keep. I know my head's spinning and confused right now, but right, all growth comes from discomfort. So if there was anything that made you feel uncomfortable so far today, either like, wow, I've got a knowledge gap, I've got a knowledge bias, I didn't know that story, that just means you're growing. And when you are growing as a leader in the industry is growing. Let's bring Kim up onto the screen. So Kim, hey, we're having a little shift around here. We're playing a little chess.
It's okay.
Okay, great. So we want to talk to Brian Friedman, right? And you've got him on the phone. So again, Sophia doesn't need much introduction, but I do want to say why we're going to bring him into this call right now. Originally it was going to be live. Something's preventing him from being here. He is the relevant dancer, right? If you want to, you like, he's been 30, 40 years, worked with everyone from Britney Spears as a choreographer, not even just a dancer, Lady Gaga, like the list goes on, right?
He's Brian Friedman.
He is Brian Friedman. And why I think it's important is he has that background of both working with celebrities who are high profile. Privacy is a huge conversation. And he's also working on the faculty of Radix right now. And for quite some time now, working with the next level of professional dancers or the current dancers that are moving through the tradition. And you were talking to me about him creating his own ladder. He built his own success. And so if there's anyone who's worn every hat in this industry, it's going to be him. I know he's a #1 advocate for dancers and parents,
Yes.
and he knows everything that encompasses the career. So I'm just going to let you take this with Brian from here. I'm going to step back and let you have the call with him.
And I'll tell you the reason Brian is not here, and I was on the phone with him, and this is just shows what a true professional he is, and it shows how important this cause is to him. He's in the emergency room right now with his nephew. Unfortunately, something happened with his nephew, and he was the only one that could take him there. And he said, Kim, I'm not missing this call for anything. Can you put me on the phone? So I don't know if we can hear Brian. He said, don't you dare put me on FaceTime. I look like a hot mess. Love him so much. Baby, hello? Hi, sweetheart. Are you okay?
I am okay.
Can you hear him, Brian? Can you hear him?
We're good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, Brian. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I know how important this is to all of us. We just bragged about you, and not everybody knows that I know you from when we were about 12 years old, and I had the biggest crush on you because you could do more pirouettes than me. Listen, I want to ask you a couple of things. You know, Brian, I look up to you, and I appreciate you because I look at you not as just Brian Friedman like everybody else does, but I look at you as the human being that you are. And, you know, you have remained so kind and so humble and so sweet, and you do work with celebrities, but you know what you do work with is you work with children. And you work with children, and you care about them. And you care about the parents, you care about everybody that you come in contact with. And so when I came to you about this concept, you just dove in with me. And I'm going to ask you some words, and I want you to tell me what they mean to you, considering everything you know about the dance world.
Yeah.
What would the word fair mean to you?
Oh, God. The word fair to me would remind me of my childhood. And being someone who grew up in the dance world, it was something that I thought was incredible about the world I grew up in the competition world. And the competition world is what taught me everything about the entertainment industry. And it is what I gauged the rest of my future in this industry to be based on. And that is not necessarily what it has turned into or what it feels like. Fairness is something that we all should be given. We all deserve fairness.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. What about safe?
Safe reminds me of the 80s.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds, again, I grew up, and of course I grew up in an era with blinders on.
Yeah.
But I loved those blinders that I had on because I did feel safe. I know that we are not living in a world right now where kids do feel safe. And I would love for people to experience what I was lucky to experience as a child.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we all have, but it's something that we all deserve.
Right. I feel like ICDR is trying to create that for us, you know?
Well, that is why I was so drawn to it once you and the team started speaking to me, is it is everything that is wrong with the dance convention competition world right now is what you are trying to fix.
Thank you. And last, if I were to say verified, what does that mean to you?
I remember when Instagram started verifying people, and this is something that I so wanted to have, and it wasn't something that you could buy back then. This was something that you just had to be gifted by them. And the moment that it happened, I felt validated because I knew that there was no one else that could take my identity, that I literally was the only me. And to be able to do that for kids in the dance convention world would be incredible. I hate that their identities are being stolen, media packages are being taken. This is just something that shouldn't be happening to kids. And the fact that dance is the only sport, and I'm going to call it a sport because it is a sport, it's an art, it's everything. The fact that we are the only ones that are left behind living in archaic times and letting our kids be vulnerable is just not okay.
Well, if you're going to verify for someone, who are you going to verify then for? Who are you verifying for?
For me, it's all the parents. It's all the parents out there that can't keep their kids safe, that are pouring thousands, I mean, towards, once their kids are older, close to millions probably, of dollars into this to not even know that their kids are safe. So it is for the parents. You know, my mom, luckily, she had me in dance in a time where there were no media packages. There was no social media. I wasn't vulnerable. I didn't have stalkers that could come to a dance event and try and find me.
Right.
So it was much safer then. These parents now, they really have no power in this. So for me, it's for them. And obviously it's for the kids, but it starts with the parents being bold enough to go and make a stance, take a stance for their kids.
Yeah. Brian, thank you so much. That's why you're Brian Friedman right there, because no matter where you're at, you're always going to follow through with your commitment. And you're on the phone with me right now in an emergency room, speaking for something that's going to help dance. You're the best.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Apologies for not being on camera.
No worries. Have the best day. I hope your nephew is okay. Okay.
He will be.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, baby. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right there. I love that. So for me, I'm verifying for an 8-year-old little girl that looked up to me and shook my hand and introduced herself with every bit of her heart and said, "Hello, my name is Lila. Nice to meet you." And I remembered why I started teaching dance, because I fell in love with it again. And it's about these kids, and it's about the way they look at you, like you are everything. And you remember that you better be a better person than you might want to be for yourself, because someone looks up to you. And I want to verify for all those kids that don't know anything bad in this world yet. And it's our job to protect them. And I love what Brian said about those parents, because the reason I do what I do is because I'm a mama. And more importantly, all these parents, we're just doing the best we can. And I want to say thank you to Jamie for coming up to me that day. Thank you, Anastasia, for bringing me Jamie and showing me that there might be a better way for us to do this. And I didn't believe it, and I was skeptical, and I didn't understand. I don't understand a lot of things. And I told him, I don't understand. And I think I said it to Bryce too. I think I said, I don't understand what Fancy Pants is saying over there. But listen, I went to Toronto and I sat in all these meetings for 3 days and sat back and listened and listened and listened and listened and asked questions. And I want what's best for everybody in this dance world. Studio owners, convention leaders, teachers, parents, kids, everybody. Jamie, thank you. Thank you for doing everything that you're doing to think ahead for us.
Well, thank you, Kim. I do have to say, meeting you on the trade room floor at Dance Teacher Web, there was a light bulb moment. Absolutely. Because I don't have children myself. I have a parrot. And I have multiple students across, borders, cities, provinces. So when I got connected with you, same way when I got connected with a lot of other people that helped move this forward, it's through connection, conversation, and most importantly, community. That's why we're all here. So I just want to start by sharing where all of this kind of started and came from, for at least for me. Because I began as an aspiring dancer, turned into adjudicator, host, now producer, and now sitting in this room asking bigger questions about the industry that started it all for me, that I care so deeply about. So none of this, why we're all here today, ever happened in isolation. What some of you might not know is watching my sister, who is now president and CEO of the Canada Games Council. Pretty proud of her. It's pretty substantial. She works in a world where athletes have always had structure, recognition systems and verification built into everything they do. So I kept coming back to the same question. Why are athletes over here and dancers, because it's an art, over here? So that question, combined with my own lived experience and, a lot of research, kind of pointed me in different directions. I started seeing what other sports and industries are doing, and the pattern's clear. Verification creates clarity, trust, consistency, and that verification follows participants beyond clubs or just their teams, and in our case, studios, into the systems and the athletes rely on for safe and fair sport. So the question became in my research, and still is, why not dance? And I have to thank a lot of these partners, these events that took a leap of faith on an idea and a concept that was still forming and still adjusting in real time. I really, really, really thank you, because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. You didn't wait for perfect. And together, we've kicked off the largest safety and fairness movement in the history of dance. We just passed 22,000 verifications because of the conversations that we had. And that is unreal, and I really have to thank you. To our technology partners and organizational partners that you're looking at now, you helped turn an idea into something real, usable, and ready for the industry. So thank you. But most importantly, thank you to Andrea Joannette. And I don't know if she's on this call. I hope she is. My first dance teacher, my mentor, my entry point into this wonderful community-driven world, a world where now I have the privilege of helping other dancers take their first steps wherever that path may lead them. Andrea didn't just teach me steps, she built me a staircase. And so as I sit here today and I'm talking about verification and fairness and building something stronger for the industry, I know exactly where it started for me. I'm reminded of the staircase that I climbed. So I'm verifying for her. But the question is for you, what, why, or who are you verifying for? Because at its core, that's what today is really about. Not a system, not a platform. We're a community. ICDR brings us together, studios, events, organizations, and families who are doing amazing, wonderful things, producing wonderful, fair events with the tools that they have. ICDR is a new tool. It's a shared commitment to improving the quality of dance across the entire industry, a foundation that I'm very proud to be a part of, a protected source of truth for the industry to really rely on. And since our release, I do want to say that we've been listening. We're adjusting in real time based on community feedback. And that's why I am more than happy and proud to announce that ICDR, the baseline ID, it's free. We're offering verified dance IDs at no charge because safety is not a privilege, it's a right. Every dancer should have access to a dance ID and the basic protections that it comes with. Every studio, competition, and technology partner can decide how it fits into their corner of this industry, into what they're already doing. Because this isn't about creating barriers, it's about removing them. There's no deadlines, no pressures, no subscription cost for core protections and privacy control. That's what we do. This is all optional, an open door to learn more, explore, and see what a centralized, verified registry could mean for you. Because registry, when I started this, was a very scary term. I wasn't comfortable using very often, but that's what this is. This is a platform, but it's not ours. It's yours. A verified identity for every dancer, simple, secure, privacy compliant, and guided by the people it represents. And from that foundation, so many additional features become available. We can finally offer, what athletes have had for so long, participant accident insurance. We can finally restrict the live streams through verified guardians. We can do centralized waivers to save time and reduce friction, add clarity, and have private verified records. Because value in dance isn't a one size fits all. And ICDR exists to honor and support that. This is about a shared industry tool to solve issues you heard about today and a forward-thinking insurance policy for things that we can't even see yet. Built with varied insights and points of view from these people who have dedicated their lives to this industry. You all, every single one of them, reminded me that value in dance can look completely different 2 streets apart. Jerome, JT, Christine, Rebecca, and Tara, this movement thanks you. And this is an open invitation for anyone else to get involved and ask questions and see how this works for you. Because if participation is optional, if trust is built, not forced, if control stays where it belongs with studios and families, then what grows from that is a community built on trust. So I'll leave you with this. When you think about everything you've heard today, the dancers in your care, in your corner of the dance world, in your community, ask yourself, what, why, but most importantly, who are you verifying for? Because the answer to that question is what moves all of this forward. And what happens next, that's up to all of us. And that's the exciting part. So this is just the beginning. So to start, thank you for being in this room. I really appreciate it. We do.
Jamie, thank you. Wow, what a pivot that it's free. I know there's been a lot of conversation and questions around that. And again, you just took the veil off. There's a lot of veils being taken off today.
Surprise!
So I can see in the Q&A, and I want to remind everybody that there's a Q&A. Our formatting's a little off here. Just realize that. Our apologies. Because it's our first time pulling this up, because this was just added. Jamie, a lot of people are asking questions, and we're not going to be able to get to them all today. We probably won't get to any of them today, but there's a lot. And so I want to remind everybody here, feel free to put into the Q&A section. But Jamie, even though we'll get the right dates in a moment, but can you talk about these dates here?
Absolutely. We just know that there are questions, that are coming. We know that there are clarifications to be offered. So we wanted to continue the conversation. So we have a studio event on June 2nd. Stand by for how to register for that. But everyone on this call will absolutely be invited. Then we have a Guardian one, so that Guardians can ask their questions, and then an industry one as well. Because all of these are different stakeholders in the very important puzzle that is, the wider world of dance, right? So we want to make sure that we're adjusting, hearing from the people that we're serving, because that's why we exist, to improve the quality of dance across the board. And, it's different for every stakeholder, right? Michael, you know that as well as I do, is that, dancers often are looking for different things, and what's available or needed in BC and Canada might be completely different than a studio in Ontario. So that's why we're encouraging the conversation, because we're excited about where this can go and how the ICDR safe, protected, privacy compliant registry works for everybody.
Wow. How's your head feeling, Jamie? If I were you, my head probably be spinning right now with everything you're doing.
I was very nervous because I had, a very large announcement to make, but I don't know. I just feel comfortable in this room because I'm amongst my peers, and I'm just talking about something that I know.
Yeah, it's what we talked about. Like, dance is a place we belong, right? Do
Correct.
I feel safe here? Can I be myself? Can I add value to this community? Can I receive value from the community? And when we're moving through this technological change that we've never seen before,
I also just want to say, I'm 43 years old, and I've inherited, a fragmented industry that came before me. It doesn't mean I can't challenge it. And, leaning on my sister to understand what worked in sport, and trying to figure out with Bryce what really worked, what could work for dance. And we're not, there's still questions, there's still evolution. And That's what's really exciting about this.
Dance isn't dance, it's dancing. It's in the perpetual state of dancing. Sports is not sport, it's sporting. It's in the perpetual state. So Jamie, there's one thing that I think is really important, because, I want to make sure users aren't like, but wait, there's more, or, the first 3 months free. Like, is it free? Is it designed to be free? Is it meant to stay free? It's free.
It's free. If you have an ID, the baseline protections of safeguarded media and that centralized privacy compliant data exchange where, as you saw at the top of the call, that data is encrypted at rest, encrypted in transit, so that the date of birth can live in ICDR, but when it lands in all of our technology partners, that it's actually the age and not the actual proprietary piece of information. And it's taken so much time with Bryce, with Claire, with our development team, and even, with our partners to figure out the best process flow to make it as frictionless and easy as possible.
Jamie, hats off to you. If you want to give some love to everything that everyone here today has said by giving some hearts and emojis to float up on the screen. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie, stay on the screen with me for a second.
Sure.
For our team, I don't need to launch a poll, but I do want everybody in the room to think in their own head this question. Hey, we heard stories from Sophia. We heard from Brian. We heard from industry experts, whether studio owners or event owners. We heard from Jamie. We heard from Kim McSwain, who we didn't really get to introduce her because we moved things around a little bit, but she's working with the littles every single day, building the next generation of dancers, just like everybody here. So I just want you to think in your head, what can you appreciate, recognize, or just acknowledge from what you heard today? I just want you to think that in your own mind. And so I want to ask the question, did at least one person here get some sort of appreciation for today or what was said? If so, just wave your hands, go like that. Look at everybody here. I know I can wave my hands. And so I did promise you I was going to have you be the best educators to all of us who are putting on this industry dance event on International Dance Day. So what we're going to do is we're going to put into the chat section, or if you've got a phone, you could do it from your phone. We want your feedback. We want to do a little pulse check. We want to go, how's your heart right now? How's your heart rate variability? We want your feedback. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to fill this out, but we are going to end together. So please don't jump off just yet. We're going to make sure we end at the top of the hour as we promised, but here you go. I want you to inspire yourself. I want you to inspire the industry. I want you to inspire the group. I want you to inspire what comes next. We took off the veil. We showed it's free. We talked about the technology. Now it's up to you to move it forward. That's why this was an important event today. In the chat section is the link, or you can use your cell phones and do the QR code here. All progress begins by telling the truth. So please give your heart answers. So again, what's your heart answer? What's your brain answer? What's your logic answer? What's your emotion answer? All progress begins by telling the truth. And truth is what's going to continue to move these conversations forward. Again, inside the chat section is the link. Also up on the screen is the QR code. And we got a few of yours already. If you're here, I invite you to practice just staying present while we capture a few more. of your peers and colleagues and torchbearers' comments. We want to end with you, but we also want your feedback. Just wave your hand if you need a little more time. All right. While some people are finishing up, there's still, you know what? We just got a few more in, so I'm going to give another minute here. All right, wherever you are, you can keep it open. We really do want your feedback. Thank you so much. So what I'd love to do, you know, obviously I can't unmute myself half of the time, but I do want to create that energy in the room right now. Here we go. Let's do it like this. We got a few people here. We got a few people behind me as well. Just on the count of three, let's lean in and let's just give each other a round of applause here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Because again, you chose to be here. Time is your currency as somebody who is bringing people into your care on an everyday basis. And so I so appreciate you being here. Kim, why don't you come up on screen as well? Kim, Jamie, any final words so that we can
Well,
be like
just
Delta?
wanted to, yeah, we want to thank you because you really helped, you know, not just bring this wonderful meeting all together with your amazing team, Erad and Steven, thank you so much, but you bring an energy to the room and expertise that is, you know, your own and unmatched and in this industry. So Michael, you know, meeting you in Kentucky was phenomenal. And I'm glad that even we met again, got to be on Zoom you did before. So just thank you, you know, for your transparency, your honesty.
You know, I went into this industry, Jamie. I'm not a dancer. Nobody here wants to see me dance. I love the business of dance. I love the business of show. But what got me interested in this world was an advertisement that said inspiring young dancers around the country. And so I just want to keep bringing that to the table, as I know you do too. So thank you. And thank you for your team, Sandra, Monica, and everybody else. But if there's any final words from the heart from both of you, and Monica as well, any final words from both of you, I'd love to hear them.
I think I'm proud to be a part of something that's so real and so honest and so fair and so great for this dance world. And it's being someone that was a dancer and then a teacher and worn all the hats as well. This is for everybody. And thank you for thinking of everyone.
And if you're, you know, wondering how this fits into your world, we're here.
Right.
A conversation away, you know, ICDRdance.com is how to get more information. This is not going to happen overnight, but if we work together, the solutions that we can bring to the pain points that are universal across this industry, that's pretty special.
Excellent. So thank you, everybody. We are the torchbearers. We're taking the tradition. We're moving it forward. We're protecting our young, because you know what? The one thing in nature, in the wild, nobody needs to teach their parents how to protect their young. And neither do they in the dance world either. So let's move forward. And on the count of three, let's just again give a nice little heartfelt thank you to one another, one way or another, whether clapping your hands, putting a question in the chat set, in the question A, and we'll see you the next time. Take care, everybody.